Thanks to improvements in the economy this year, the federal government is getting some relief for its struggle with the deficit. That gives President Obama and members of Congress more time to reach an agreement over where to cut and how to bring in tax revenue. But in the meantime, the government has to go along with automatic spending cuts. And some economists say the cutbacks, along with higher payroll taxes, could bring about a new economic slowdown. That was also the message yesterday outside the O'Neill Federal Building from members of the Budget for All coalition. We'd like to welcome two members, a Head Start parent leader from Roxbury, Juell Frazier, and the executive director of the Mass Alliance of HUD Tenants, Michael Kane. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Juell, I want to start with your situation. You're very directly affected because you have a daughter who's in a Head Start program. So what's going on there?
We did have a lot of cuts. So we have 8 classrooms in the building. We're going to be cut to 4. A lot of private slots are going to be condensed to maybe 2 from 4. The low-income families, if they don't have a voucher, won't have a slot for their child to go to school.
Michael, what about the whole makeup of the coalition here? I know you've been a housing advocate, an affordable housing advocate for many years, but there's quite a range of people in this coalition because there are a number of things affected by these budget cuts.
Well, yeah, the budget cuts affect the 99% that are not the high-flying air travelers whose problems were fixed when Congress reversed the cuts for air traffic control because there were delays at the airports. So they rushed to approve that, and then they all went off on vacations, leaving the 99% in Head Start, in fuel assistance, Section 8. You name the program, and there are cuts. 5% cuts immediately before September. So you heard the impact on Head Start. There are about 4,000 homeless families in Massachusetts who will be stuck in shelters around the streets indefinitely because those vouchers are being cut back. This is completely unnecessary. The sequester cuts are mindless, unnecessary cuts.
Sure. You also have a daughter who finished a Head Start program, who's since moved up to grade 3 or so.
Yes.
Did you notice anything about how Head Start has helped her?
Absolutely. There's only but so much we can do as parents. So as everyday girl, she comes home with different things, her colors, her numbers. I mean, she counts up to 30 at 2 years old. Just her fine motor skills, her personal skills. She asked us to go back, which I thought was really nice. You know, she liked it. She enjoyed it. The curriculum is awesome. They work with the kids. They work really hard to come up with a great educational curriculum for the children.
And we're talking about children whose parents are probably at work all day, so because the kids are in preschool, there's adults who can talk with them, they can build
Absolutely.
Their vocabulary,
different
I guess.
Services, a lot of different services within Head Start.
What about the services to parents? I've heard ABCD Head Start programs like the one your children are in. They also do things for the parents, too.
For families, there's a lot of resources. If you need help with fuel assistance, housing, mental health, there's all kind of services and resources for parents to get into to better themselves.
Michael, talk about the housing cutbacks, because long before we were hearing about this budget showdown and the sequester, there were cutbacks or at least ceilings put on some of the rental subsidies. Some of the buildings in Boston that used to be affordable, they're not affordable anymore.
That's right. We've been fighting for years budget cuts that were proposed during the Bush era. And we, for the most part, were successful in blocking those and making sure that people weren't thrown out of their homes or forced to live on the streets or in shelters longer. So we were pretty successful, but about 2 years ago when the battle in Washington escalated around the debt ceiling issue in late 2011, and the Republican leaders in the House basically said they were going to shut down the government or bankrupt the country unless they got deep cuts to programs. So they passed the Budget Control Act and it cut $2.2 trillion. The first installment happened right away in 11. The second installment happened March 1st, and it was called the sequester. And that was an automatic cut to every single, pretty much every discretionary program in the federal government, every one. 5% cut. Well, it didn't matter whether it was a good or a less good program or a bad program. Everybody got a 5% cut. and it has a devastating effect. As you've heard, the effect on Head Start. We heard yesterday at the rally that they're shutting down the Head Start program in Somerville, for instance. So it's a slow motion effect as these cuts wend their way into the programs, but the effects will be devastating just between now and September. There's another 8% cut after that, after September 30th, for each of the next 10 years. So it's a completely mindless, destructive thing, and as was in the paper today, the Federal Reserve Bank is saying that these are counterproductive. These kinds of cuts to government workers who work in these programs or aid the programs, and to the people who benefit from them, are going to hurt the economy. They're not helping the economy. So it's totally counterproductive, it's time to get away from this austerity nonsense and get into prosperity, which is what our rally was about yesterday.
Drew, I know you were a concerned parent because of these possible cuts, but you're also an active organizing parent. Why are you coming at the problem this way?
I want change. I want to see a change. And I speak out for individuals who can't speak out for themselves. I advocate for them. I help them. I give them knowledge as far as any resources out there, as far as ABCD, everything that goes on inside ABCD. I kind of connect with them on that level.
And I imagine, too, when we're talking about the importance of preschool, I mean, this is a norm, and no one even debates this anymore, but in Boston we have many families that we see in the Boston public schools. They're coming out of poverty. Some of them don't speak English because they're from other countries. So I imagine this is really going to have quite an effect on the children if they can't get that preschool foundation.
Absolutely. I know for me and for others, it's going to be hard if you're low income and you have nowhere and you're trying to better yourself and you have nowhere for your kid to go with. Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? So Head Start is an awesome agency for children.
And maybe we should remind viewers that this is the time of the year when all those ABCD Head Start children, they usually gather in the Common, they go up to the State House, and I guess they're going to do something like that this year, but I guess there's a bit of a different message this time.
There is a different message. It's going to be a rally versus a celebration. Every year we have an end of the year celebration for the children at Boston Common, but because we were affected by the budget cut, the sequestration, we changed the name to the rally. So we're going to have a rally at the Commons this year.
All right. And any more details? We can follow up on that a bit later, perhaps.
Yeah, we can follow up.
Okay. And Michael, what's the next step here with this coalition? I know you had the ballot question last year, so you've got your own foundation. We're saying where people in Massachusetts seem to be saying we'd rather solve this problem in a different way. So what are you doing next?
Well, we realized if everybody fights to just save their own area, their own program, their own issue, we're all going to lose. So that's why we reached out to form the coalition a couple of years ago, to reach out to the Head Start parents, to the workers in the government agencies. Very significantly yesterday at the rally, there were about close to half of the participants were government employees. The HUD workers, the Social Security workers.
Community centers too, yeah.
Community centers. There were a number of BHA. The BHA just suffered 38 layoffs last Friday, the Roofers Union. So they were there. So they were all there in solidarity with the people that have been, like tenants or Head Start parents and others, seniors, who are facing cuts. So it was a very significant movement for building a coalition. And in addition, the peace groups are there because the way out is not to cut. The way out is to tax the big corporations that aren't paying any taxes, like Verizon and Bank of America, and to cut the waste in the military budget. There's plenty of things like the F-35 trillion plane that doesn't fly that could be cut and make sure that more money is put into programs like Head Start, like Meals on Wheels for seniors, like HUD housing to solve these problems. In fact, if Verizon alone paid their fair share of taxes, that's $4 billion a year. That's enough to reverse the cuts nationally to all of Head Start and all of Section 8 next year. So there is a connection between the way that big corporations like those that I named escape paying taxes and the cutbacks that are coming. They're unnecessary cutbacks. There's plenty of money in the system. It's just not being brought into funding these programs. We should be talking about expanding programs like Head Start, not cutting it back.
And Juell, just one more time, a reminder about when and where that rally is going to take place?
May 30th at the Boston Commons around 10 o'clock, 10 a.m.
Thank you very much. Juell Frazier and Michael Kane from the Budget for All Coalition.